Every consulting company, legal firm, procurement team, and enterprise organization receive hundreds of contracts in a month. Every contract has to be reviewed manually for the compliance, payment terms, legal clauses, company policies, and financial risk before anyone approves. Doing it manually waste hours, introduce inconsistencies, delay projects, and increase the risk of missing important contractual obligations. In many cases, one missed clause result into financial losses, compliance issues, as well as legal dispute. So today in this video, I'm gonna show you how to design and build a complete production grade AI contract management system from scratch. What this solution does, this solution automatically analyze contract, retrieve company knowledge using RAG, validate business policies, routes approval, escalate expectation, generate audit records, and securely deploy the entire solution from the development to the production using a complete lifecycle management pipeline. Here is the complete solution. The contract is uploaded into the SharePoint. Power Automate detects the document automatically. The document is cleaned and prepared before being analyzed using Azure OpenAI RAG Search. Business policies are evaluated, manage receive notification. This is the team notification. This is the email that receives managed and it tells us what policy violation we did in a contract. And this is the Dataverse record for audit purpose. Let's get started. In today's video, we gonna build a complete AI contract compliance enterprise system, which is complete production grade system, and it is a multi-tenant AI contract compliance system. In this current project, we will use two different tenant environments, like we have tenant A as well as we have tenant B. Before I can tell you the complete detail how the data flows between the tenants, I have to tell you the moving components, what components we do have in our tenant A and what components we do have in our tenant B. So basically, tenant A we have a SharePoint site, a Power Automate trigger, as well as we have Azure Key Wallet, Azure Function, Azure AI Search RAG, which we use to fine tuning and extraction and training of a contract data, as well as we have Dataverse tables which we can use for the data compiling as well as to write the data accordingly, as well as we will create a complete custom connector from scratch especially for this project, as well as we already have created a complete Microsoft Teams channel which we use for the notification for the adaptive code and alerts. And also we have email services. We will receive a beautiful email in our tenant A. So this is what we have in a tenant A. So what we have in our tenant B, in our tenant B, we only have our Azure OpenAI GPT-4o Mini deployed model. In this current project, we will use GPT-4o Mini. So why we are using the GPT-4o Mini in this project? Because GPT-4o Mini is a pretty efficient model. It can easily solve pretty complex tasks. It is also very cost efficient, as well as it costs only $0.15 per million tokens, and its output is $0.18 per million tokens. That's best choice for the industries which receive hundreds of contracts in a month, and with a fraction of cost by using GPT-4o Mini, they can cut their operational cost up to 40 to 60%, run their compliance system pretty well. Let's proceed how the data will flow in this system. Basically, in the first phase, we have unstructured data. Like I already have created SharePoint site, as well as I have created three SharePoint dedicated folder, in which one folder is contract intake folder, one folder is for the policies of the document, and one folder is for the approved document. A SharePoint folder, contract intake folder will receive the contract. We will upload the contract there. After that, the Power Automate trigger will trigger, and then we will create a dynamic ticket ID. After that, we have description of our ticket, and after the ticket description, we will use Azure Key Wallet to create different connections, as well as we will create Azure functions from the scratch. Why we are creating Azure functions? Because our contract contain a lot of XML tags, HTML tag, as well as there are a lot of indentation as well as SH256 cytographic hash. What your function will do? It will basically remove the XML tag, remove HTML tag, as well as clean and sanitize the raw document text, optimize text before processing, generate SH256 hash, and return clean document and immutable hash to our system. After that, we will use Azure AI Search. What it will do, it will retrieve the golden rule, compliance, knowledge, and vector search. Basically, we will run two-way reconciliation lookup parallel. In the one way, we will call HTTP request to Azure AI search rag, and on another way, it will write a OData query to a Dataverse table that we have already created, and I will proceed you towards the whole system in a bit. What it will do, it will activate vendor budget, master balancing, and existing finance records. Both the outputs will merge before the AI evaluation. After the two-way reconciliation lookup, we will proceed towards the AI cognitive governance, in which we will create a custom connector course in a tenant tape, and we will design a system in a way that it is secured and is exposed in the browser history as well as in the flow history, because our main goal is to build a model at a production grade, because currently we will build this model in a separate developer environment, and eventually when we are complete development, we will deploy this model to production using the application lifecycle management to a Git. After the secure authenticated API call, we will have cross-tenant handshake with a already deployed GPT-4 mini model, which is on a tenant base. What it will do, it will evaluate contract, compare against rules, validate budget availability, and detects compliance risk and produce structured JSON out. Also, we have a try and catch scope in a current contract compliance system. In a try scope, we have two different use cases. Like we use it to create different use cases. One case is when a contract is approved, the status will be active. File will be moved to the approved case, and we will receive a HTML approved email. In a case two, when a project got rejected a hard stop. For example, we have set a policy like we don't want to compliance any project if it exceeds $10,000. Our system will hard stop it, system will block it, and it will send a notification to a team's channel, as well as send a red alert email including the step why it blocked it. As well as we have created scope a block in which when a flow due to some reason trigger timeout, either we receive a lot more APIs requests, either our system times out prevent workflow from crash. This is how our cache scope works. It is basically for the self-healing diagnostic, and this way a whole complete structure. But let's start building this beautiful multi-tenant contract compliance system. Let's start with the build. But before we can start our build, as I already told you that I have already created for this project. So this is a demo automation site that we can use for this project. In the demo automation site, I already have Nexus compliance system in which I have created three SharePoint folders. One is contract intake folder, and other folder is corporate policy as well as approved contract. Contract intake folder receives the contract, and the approved contract will be moved towards the approved contract folder. This is our AI agent help desk enterprise solution, which I have already created, in which I have created these five connection references as well as this one contract governance ledger Dataverse table. To watch this video, there are certain prerequisites that I have put the link of all of them in the description of this video, because I will not create every resource from the scratch because it is redundant. I have created all of these resources in my last video, AI help desk agent video, in which I have created everything from scratch: how to create a solution, how to create environmental variable, how to deploy a model, how to create Azure storage, how to create Azure resource group, as well as how to create Azure key wallet, as well as how to create permissions. So that's why I will skip all of those courses in this video because it would be redundant and make the video long. I will put the link in the description of all of the videos so as a prerequisite so you can watch and proceed with the current project. And this is our tenant A, in which we have already a resource group as well as a Azure key wallet. In our Azure wallet, I have already created certain permissions, including the key wallet secret officer and key wallet secret user. I will put video link in the description so you can create it successfully. As I already told you, the Dataverse table that we have created include certain columns names, including the vendor name, ticket ID, compliance status, AI analysis summary, escalate flag, SLA target status, risk score, and unique usage ID contract ledger. And this is SHA stamp column. Up till now, this is our tenant A. Proceed towards our tenant B. In our tenant B, we only have this open Azure AI model which we already deployed. This is a model which is already deployed successfully, and this model is in tenant B. So let's proceed with the build. We can start with the creation of a storage account. We click storage account or search storage account and then click create and then choose a subscription and then a resource group. Currently, we are working in RG Nexus compliance level resource group, so we will choose that. After choosing the resource group, we will name it. The value must be globally unique, and then choose the region which will best suit you. I'm choosing UAE North, and then we have to choose the preferred storage type. We will choose Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage because this is best suits you regarding to our current project. We will proceed with the standard recommended for most of the scenario V2 storage account. As well as redundancy, we will go with the system choose redundancy geo redundant storage. We will proceed next and then next. Make sure all the networks would be enabled, otherwise it will not work properly. Make sure these two options would be enabled, like public network access as well as all the enable from all networks, otherwise it will not work. Data protection as well as security will not need any option there. We will proceed with the system generated options. In further encryption point of view, we will proceed with the Microsoft managed key as well as blobs and files only because that is what we require for this project. So we have to choose resources in a way that would be cost efficient. We don't need to create any tags. Then we click review plus create. So now it will be successful. So now we can click create to create our storage account. So we will click create. So it is already initialized our deployment. It is submitting our deployment. Our deployment is currently in a progress. Our deployment is completed successfully and our storage account is created. So we need to proceed towards go to resources. So now proceed towards another step. Our storage account is deployed successfully. Now we need to proceed towards our data storage. Click data storage. Then we need to click containers. Then click add container. Then name it that best suits you. For the anonymous access level, make sure you have to select private. I have already select private. Then click create. It is successfully created. So we need to upload file there. So we need to click upload, browse from the machine. So we will upload our policy document there. Now click up. Now we successfully deployed our Azure Blob storage account as well as we have created a container there. And in the container we have uploaded a policy. So let's proceed back towards the home. Now we can proceed towards the Azure AI Search. We need to create that resource as well. Click AI Search and then click. We need to choose a storage account, this one. Then we need to name it. Name it that must be globally unique. And then we need to choose the location. I'm choosing UAE North. One important note there, pricing tier currently it has choose a standard pricing partition, 160 GB. We need to change a pricing tier there. Otherwise it will cost us too much. So we need to change towards the free tier. Click change pricing tier. Then we choose the free tier and then click select. So you see our pricing change to free, 50 MB max, one replica, max one partition and max one unit search. It will be more than enough for this project. So we can proceed with the next and then we can proceed with review plus create. Click review plus create. And then we need to click create. Our deployment is currently in progress. Our deployment is completed successfully. So we have successfully deployed our Azure AI search. Now we can proceed towards the reg search. Our AI search deployed successfully. Now we need to copy the primary key. We need to click security plus networking. Then we need to click keys. Then we need to copy the primary admin key somewhere, like on a notepad. No worry about the keys. By the time you can watch this video, I will remove and clear all of my resources. That's not an issue because it is a good practice to always remove the moving parts after you can create the resources. Let's proceed towards the home. Then open a search governance MD, and then we need to import data. Click import data. Then we need to click Azure Blob Storage. Then we need to click keyword search. Then we need to choose a storage account. This one ST compliance MD that we have already created. Then we need to choose a blob container that we recently create a blob container policy library, this one. Then we proceed with the default, and we don't need to create blob folder because we don't require that. Blob folder is specifically when we are required to search certain documents that are specific to a specific folder, and we just deployed all of our search to that particular folder. So we don't require that. So we need to click next. We don't need to choose any option there because we just choose the AI search, and these are also optional there. Our model will be work fine without them. Click next. All the options are already pretty standard and selected pretty well, so we will proceed with the next. Schedule indexing is already selected to once. That is good for us, so we just need to click next. Then we need to review and plus click create. You see AI search deployed successfully. Proceed back to home. The next step, the creation of key wallet as well as the Azure key secret. So that we have already created key wallet account that I already told you. I will put the link in the description if you want to create it from the scratch, and how to create the role based assignments as well. I will put the link in the description because I have already created the key wallet secret officer as well as key wallet secret permission there. Let's move back. Just since we have already deployed a blob storage account as well as Azure AI Search, Foundry IQ, as well as we had already created our Azure Key Wallet. Now we need to proceed towards the creation of a function app. Then in the function app, we will create a Azure function and then deploy it in the cross-tenant environment accordingly. But before we can proceed with the creation of a function app, there are certain local prerequisites that you want to install into your machine if you are working with the function app for the first time and you don't have touched the Azure functions for in the VS Code. What you need to do, you need to install the Python from Python org, the version that is currently present. Currently, I have already installed 3.13 laptop. That's why I'm telling you to install that Python version. Then you need to install the Node.js LTS version, as well as you need to install the Azure functions in your machine. These are the commands to install certain resources accordingly. I will provide this file as well as this file that contain all the formulas and code and everything. I will provide the link in the description so you can easily recreate this project and create the resource. After the successful installation of all of these resources, you need to install these three extensions: Python, Azure Function, as well as Azure Account, as well as Azure Functions by Microsoft. If you see in a VS Code that I have already installed Azure Python in my VS Code. Let's proceed towards the creation of a function app. Search function app, click function app, then click create. Then this is very important step that we need to choose the flex consumption because it is one of the safest option for us and starting a project and it will cost us nothing. We can choose flex consumption. Select flex consumption. After that, we need to select a resource group, Nexus compliance step, and we need to give a name that is globally unique. Then we need to choose the location that best suits you accordingly. After choosing the location, we will choose a language pipe, and you see the version that we have installed is already popped up, and this is the version we have installed, and instance size would be 2048, and which would be pretty well for us. And then we need to proceed towards next step. Click next. That would be the storage. We don't need to choose any option since there is one distinction that either we have to go with the new resource group or either we will choose the current resource group. Always go with the new resource group because when we are creating the function app, all of the functions app data will be in the separate resource group. It is pretty good standard practice to do that. So that's the one distinction that you have to make sure that once you are creating a new function app, you will choose the newly created resource group, which we don't need to create one. The system automatically created the new one. Then we need to proceed towards the next step, click next. Currently, we don't need to enable any Azure OpenAI resources there because we don't have a deployed model in the current tenant. Currently, we are in the tenant A, and our deployed model is in the tenant B. So we don't need Azure OpenAI there. We proceed with the next step, networking, click next. In the networking, make sure that enable public access will be on and enable virtual network integration will be off because we don't need virtual network integration there. So click next. Currently, we don't need any monitoring for this project. We have chosen to know. Then we proceed with the next step, click next. Currently, we proceed with the bring your own Azure storage. So we will go with this option and bring your own Azure storage because this would be work best for small creations as well as moderate performance and as well as for the durable functions. So we can proceed with that option. Then we click next deployment because we will have a separate detailed deployment lifecycle that we will eventually do after the completion of this current build. So we don't currently need any deployment there. So we can safely proceed with the next click next. We don't need to select any secret options there because we will use the API key there. We do not choose any specific authentication type there. Proceed with the next step. Then we don't need to select create any tag there. Then click review and create. Now everything is ready. Operating system would be Linux because in the flex consumption it auto selects the Linux and Python function will work best in Linux. Everything is already ready, so we just need to click create and then it will take a bit to create. It is already initialized our deployment. Deployment is in progress. Our deployment is completed and we have successfully created a function app, move back towards our resources. Our Azure function app created successfully and now we need to adjust its maximum instance count. So we need to click setting. Then we need to click scale and concurrency. Then you see it has set a maximum instance count to 100. So we need to change it to 5. Our current project 5 would be good. So that's why we will change maximum instance count to 5. Basically, the instance count means how many parallel instances we can create on the Azure function app. So we don't require to create more instances on it. So that's why we have choose the 5 to control the price and make it clean and work perfectly according to our requirement. So click save and then the setting will be saved. Click yes. So it says that your app may restart if you are updating these settings. Are you sure you want to continue? So click confirm and then it will update scale and concurrency set. So now our scalability and concurrency setting is updated successfully and you see the notification. Now we go to proceed towards with the creation of a Azure function in the VS Code. So let's proceed with that. Proceed towards the creation of our Azure function. So we need to open folder. Click open folder. That the folder that I have already created in my full laptop storage. Then select the next function folder that I have already created for this project in which we can create a Azure function. Click the folder. Now the folder is selected. Now what we need to do, we need to open a command palette and write in the command palette to Azure function new project. So the shortcut command of it Control Shift P and I'm using the Windows 11. So if you're working from Mac, you can check it accordingly what's the command for it. We need to write Azure functions new project and then click it. We choose a front folder next as function folder. Then we choose our language is Python. Then we choose a installed variant or version which we recently installed 3.1314 recently used. Then it will take a bit. Then we choose the HTTP trigger. Then we enter it and then we choose the name function and now it is creating a virtual environment as well as the other files you can see in Azure. It is creating everything. It is successfully created a virtual environment as well as initialized Python project for VS Code. Also, it is successfully created the new project for us. You can see now it is fully visible to you. We don't need to follow that code because I already have a Azure function that I had created previously. I will paste it there and then we can proceed with the project and no worried about the code. I will provide the link with the file, proceed with the functional running code. So this is a running code which I have split the screen and the right hand side. So we need to copy the control A, copy, and then we need to remove it first, and then we need to paste it, and then we need to store it accordingly. Now we need to remove this as well. Now everything is in fine up till there. Normally when we create a function in the VS Code did it for us and install the virtual environment accordingly for us. Otherwise, if it's not installed, we have to run a manual command to activate it properly. So it is already installed and we are in the root folder. So we can proceed with the installation of other dependencies. Now we need to install dependency. We will use this command pip install our requirement.txt and then we hit enter. See Azure Function fully installed. Azure Function 2.10 save 3.03. So Azure Functions are installed successfully. Now we need to proceed towards the next step. And in the next step, what we need to do, we need to create a test payload file to test our function before deploying it to a function app. Let's go. We can create a test payload file. Click the side and this one, click new file, then the test payload.json. So this is the file I have already created. Then we will paste a payload there. We have created a payload file and successfully create a payload as well. Now we need to proceed the test of a payload. We need to open the new terminal and because it is function is already running, so we don't need to test there. Open another terminal and then test it there. If our function will work fine, it will turn us a clean hash code. We need to test it. Click enter. So it throws an error. Invoke REST method unable to connect to the remote server. Invoke URI. And why this error? Because this is quite important because I forget to run our Azure function. So we first need to run our Azure function then because we just install the dependencies and not run the Azure function. So that's very important because even an experienced person got the error and it is a good practice to learn with building. So we need to first start our function. When our function starts running, then we need to test it because our function didn't start. That's why it throws an error. So we first need to start a function. Function starts and then click enter. So now it is starting our function. You see our function is working fine on our local host. We have C and it is successfully showing the endpoint of sanitized contract. Now our function is fully working on our local host. Now we need to test it with the same command and now it will work fine. Ignore this warning. It doesn't relate to that. So now proceed back to terminal. And the terminal run the same command once again. Click enter. So you see we have received a beautiful SH256 hash code. Sample contract with HTML tags and care for a STM character. And this is the hash code that we want. So it means everything is working fine. But before we can proceed towards the deployment of a function, I need to clarify one thing that we just test the Azure function on a local server now. It is working locally very well. Once after the deployment, we can also test it with Azure function key, or we can proceed with the deployment. It is a good practice to stop this function. We just need to run the command Control C and it will stop. It is stopped successfully. Now Control C as well. We are good to proceed. Now we need to click Azure. Then we click function app. In the function app, we have created this. We click this. Then right click on that. Then we have to click deploy to function app. And it is now currently deploying actually an override pop-up. So we need to click deploy. So we accidentally done it 2 times. So I am canceling it. So it is currently deploying to a function app. Building app, you can see our function is successfully deployed to a function app. So now we can proceed towards Azure and copy a function key and then proceed with the final after deployment test and then we are good to go. Let's proceed towards Azure. We need to click our Nexus Sanitizer function app. Now you see our sanitize contact function is deployed successfully and it is shown under function. So we need to click it. So you see this is a function. So we need to select get function URL. Then we need to copy this key, function key on our notepad. Then we need to close it. So now we have all the 3 keys, including OpenAI key because our model is already deployed, as well as Azure AI Search key, as well as function key. So now it is a good time to update Azure Key Wallet. So I'm copying everything step by step, and then we can update Azure Key Wallet. Give me So you have see, I have combined all the keys, including the OpenAI key as well as a search key as well as a function key in a single JSON. So why I'm doing that? Because the reason is pretty simple. Because if I add every key as a separate key, like OpenAI key, as well as the search key, as well as the function key, so we need to create three separate key secrets. We'll add the latency time, every key like 200 to 225 milliseconds, as well as every key call against the rate limiting. So that would not be a good practice when we are dealing, especially with the production grade environment. So it is a good practice to combine them in a single JSON, and then in the flow we can just use the past JSON step to simply split them and use them in a single call. In this way, we can minimize the latency as well as we can minimize the rate limit. So let's proceed towards updating a key wallet. We need to copy these keys, Control C, and then we need to click Azure Key Secret Wallet. We go to Secret. We first need to delete it, the last one, and then we create it. So we have created it manually, and then we created. Our keys are created successfully and saved successfully. Proceed towards the creation of custom connector, because we have already created a function app as well as storage account as well as a resource group, a key wallet. We already updated our secret keys. We are good to proceed towards the creation of a custom connector. So we need to proceed towards a solution. In the solution, we need to click new. In the automation, we need to click custom connect. It will take a bit to open the UI. Now, custom connector screen is open. Now we have to choose HTTPS as well as the host. We paste this URL, but make sure we don't use this HTTPS, as well as we also need to remove this deployment. This is the complete URL from our deployed model. Make sure if you want to do it manually before it, you can do it accordingly. But I'm doing it on camera in front of you so you can understand how it really works. And make sure you don't leave any empty space. Otherwise, it will throw an error. Let's proceed with the next step, security. In the security, we will use API key, so we need to select that. And then our parameter label is API key, and then the API key. Make sure that in the parameter name you have to write the all small letters. Let's proceed with the next step. Parameter location must be header. So now let's proceed towards the next step. Click the definition. Next. Then we need to create a new action there. So in the security, we need to add some new actions. So click new action. Then in the general, we have to choose this. Then we choose the description. This one you can choose any description that best suits you according to your action. Then the operation ID. Then the operation ID, then make sure that the visibility will be set to important, because otherwise it will not work properly. After visibility set to important, then in the request we need to click import from sample, and then we choose a method post, and then we choose a URL from the model, this one, and make sure you have to just choose the last option, this, like not the complete URL. OpenAI deployment, GPT, 4 mini, and the preview of it, because we have already used the first part of it. Then leave the header blank, and then in the body paste this payload. I will provide the link of this payload as well, no worries, and click import. It is successfully imported a complete URL. Now we see our validation is already succeeded and successful. Now we are ready to proceed towards the next step. So we need to click code. We don't need to upload anything there because we use the API key. Test a connector. So we need to create a connector there, and then after creating the connector, we will test it accordingly. Click create. It is now creating a connector. It will take a bit to create. Our connector is created successfully. Before we can proceed forward, we need to test it. Click test. In the API version, write the API version of our connector, as well as we will upload the raw body. This is the raw body, and test this operation. First, we need to create a connection there, because currently we don't have created a connection. So that's why it is not proceeding with the test. We need to create connection. New connection. API key. It is asking for the API key of the module. I will provide it a key, and then our connection will be created successfully. A connection is created successfully, but our connector is not showing there. We need to reload it. Our connection is created successfully, and this is our current connector that we created as your function connector. So click on that. We need to test it. Click test. Now our connection reference is already created. Now we need to write the API version. This is the API version. We have already provided the API version. Now we provide it with the raw payload body, and we will test our custom connector. This one, we need to test this operation. If 200 OK comes, then our connector will be working fine. So click test operation. Wait a bit, and you see 200 status. It means the connector is working fine and it extracts everything, and this is a body and this is a header. Also, our validation is successful, and now we are in a position to successfully proceed towards a solution to create a complete pipeline. So let's proceed towards the creation of a cloud flow. But before we can proceed towards a cloud flow, we need to create two environmental variables. Why the environmental variables are necessary there? Because we are working production grade system in which we don't expose anything, we don't hard coded anything in a flow history. So that's why we need to create two environmental variables, one for Azure AI Search that we put into the HTTP request URL when we call the HTTP for reg search, and another environmental variable we create for a function app when we call it accordingly. So let's proceed with them. Click new, then move, and then the environmental variable. So name it that is unique and best suits you. War Azure Search ALM. So this is our environmental variable name. You can choose any name. Choose the text. For the value, I will tell you how to create the variable. So there are certain rules to create the environmental variable for everything. For example, if we want to create a environmental variable specifically for Azure AI Search, what mandatory to have in the variable? First of all, your function app service, your service app name. In our case, it would be search governance MD search. And then this is the URL is created when we created our app. So this is our Azure AI Search Foundry. So you see this is the URL and this is the endpoint of it. If we copy that, it creates something similar to it. You see, in our case, it would be search governance MD, and this would be the endpoint. After the endpoint, we include indexes and then the index name. In our case, you see, this is our index. This is our search Azure AI Search Foundry IQ, and under the search management indexes, this is our index name. So we put the index name and then the API version of it, which we are using according to environment. And same when you create the environmental variable for the Azure function, what are the prerequisites for? First, you need to have the name of function app, this one, and then this is the endpoint, and then the API, and then the name of a function. So in this way, we can create a variable. So currently we are creating an environmental variable for Azure AI Search. So we can copy this and paste into the default value there. And then click save, and then our environmental variable will be created successfully. Then instead of hard coding the URL, we will use this environmental variable in a flow. That would be pretty secure and won't break during the production deployment as well as when we are creating the pipe. Our first environmental variable created successfully. Now we need to proceed towards the second environmental variable in the same manner. You can name it anything that best suits you. Choose text and then paste the default URL there. This one. Then click save and it will create in a bit. Both of our environmental variables are created successfully. Now we are good to move towards the creation of our cloud flow. So we need to click cloud flow. We need to click automations, and then in the cloud flow, we need to click automated cloud flow. Then we have to name it that best suits. Like I'm naming it Nexus system. Then we choose a trigger. When a file is created, pop is only this one. Then we need to choose a site demo automations. Then we choose a library name. It would be Nexus compliance system. And then we choose a dedicated folder. In the Nexus compliance system, we have contact intake folder, this one. And then we click towards our next step. Then we add a standard delay there. we add standard 10-second delay. Why I'm adding a delay there? Because it is a good practice, because the current SharePoint trigger is very sensitive and it runs every 10 seconds. So if we don't add any delay there, it won't create the file properties properly and it will most probably throw us an error. That's why adding a standard delay always after a file is created properties only is a good practice. Now we proceed towards the saving of a flow. Let's proceed towards the next step. This one, get a file content SharePoint. We need to choose a site address, that is demo automation. Then we have to choose file identifier from the trigger by using the dynamic content, this one. And that's it for this step. Let's proceed with the next step. We will add a compose there. We can rename it ticket ID, and then we paste this formula, and don't worry about all of the formulas and all the steps including the HTML code as well as the Azure step and everything. I will provide a complete resources with the Google Drive link in the description, so you can easily copy every resource and create the same project like that. So add it. After that, we add another compose. Once again, rename it to ticket description. Then in the input, we want the output of get file content body. Like we want the body of a get file content. You can choose directly from the dynamic content or use the formula that would be best suited to. So I'm currently using the fixed formula. Now save the flow. Our flow is saved successfully. Now we are ready to proceed towards the next step. And our next step is get secret from Azure Key Wallet, because we already have a connection reference there. So we just need to choose a demo AI key model, this one, and then our connection reference will be work fine. After that, we will add pass JSON, this one. When we are updating our key wallet, I had told you that after the get secret, we will use the pass JSON to split all of our keys. So after reading the pass JSON, we will run a flow to test it whether it is getting all our keys successfully or not, and then we can proceed forward. For the pass JSON, we need to add its content. In the content, add this formula, get secret body value, output get secret body value. And then for schema, we will create from the sample payload. We will upload this sample payload to test it. Now a schema of our session is created successfully. Now we need a quick test to check whether our keys are extracted successfully or not. You will see our flow ran successfully. Now we need to check the output of past JSON. And you see we have beautifully splitted all of our keys, OpenAI key, search key, and function key with a single function. After that, we will add HTTP request for Azure function, and we just call the function key and proceed forward with confidence because everything is working fine according to our requirements. Add a new step, search HTTP, this one. Let's proceed with the filling of our URL. So because we already created our environmental variable, so we don't expose any hard-coded raw URL. So we click dynamic content, and then we choose a var Azure function app URL that we have created, this one. And then in the method detail, we choose post, and then in the content type, we write type is equals to application over JSON, and then the X functions key. And this is a pretty much important step, as we know, because we are calling Azure function. So we just only call for the Azure function key, body pass station, and we just only call for Azure function key. Then we add it. Then in the body, we just call the output of our description ticket, and then save it and then proceed towards the next. Our next step is another HTTP call. So search HTTP, this one, rename it, and then for the URL, once again, we will choose a environmental variable, click dynamic content, and then choose a var Azure AI Search, this one. And then for the method, once again, it will be post. For the API key, we just only called the Azure AI function key or search key that we have already supported by using the past JSON. Add it. And then for the content type, it is we already know past JSON, application over JSON. In the body, put these expressions, and as I already told you, don't worry about the rules, codes, formulas, every resource. I will put the description for you so you can easily get everything and create the project accordingly. Then we need to save it. Our flow saved successfully. Now proceed with the next step. I have just test run this flow and see everything is working according to our need. We just need to check the outputs of a function sanitize contract. In the body, we will receive the sanitize tag fully as well as the sash has code properly. It is working fine and the output is according to our needs. As well as also in the Azure AI Search HTTP query RAG, we see it output its score is 6.06. It means it would be hard stop this project, and in the content we are getting the complete description why what violation these policies does. Let's proceed our next step. Search list row, Dataverse. Choose our table name, contract governance ledger. This is our current table. And then in the filter row, we need to put this primary column formula. Make sure you use the schema name or the logical name. Don't use the display name. Otherwise, it will throw us an error. So this is our primary column. So display name is vendor name, but I'm using the new column because it is my original schema name. So take a look at it. You see, we are using in the formulas. Always use the logical name or the schema name in the formula. In this step, we just only need to fill this column. We don't need to fill any other column. So we can proceed successfully with the next step. And our next step is to add a custom connector that we had created before. So first we go to find a custom connector name. This is our custom connector Azure Function connect. We need to search with exact this name and it will appear. You see, Azure Function connector, this one. Click it. Then we need to add the API key that is already added, but for the sake of cross-checking, we need to add a key once again. Go to a model, add this function key, and then create a new connection. Now our connection is created successfully. Now we can proceed with all of its columns. And these are some of the columns and field names that we need to fill. First of all, we need to fill the API version. We will see what is our API version. You can copy that. If we paste it in Notepad, we will see this is our API version. So we need to use this one. This is the API version, and every deployed model has different API versions, so you can choose your model API version accordingly when you're dealing with the custom connect. Proceed back towards the connect, this one, and then in the body we need to add two new roles as well as content. In the first role, it acts as a system, and in the content, you will need to paste this complete command, and I will provide it to you. You are in the lead financial governance editor for Nexus Global Company, so it is basically acting as a content draft again retrieved rag policy that we have set accordingly. So that's it. We need to add another role and which it is act as a user. And then in the content, we will apply these three formulas. In the rag rule, we will call this trigger, HTTP query rag. In the legendary data, we will call a list row body. As well as in the incoming contract, we called a sanitize contract. So that's it for the content type. Then in the max token, we will fill the max token would be 1000. Then in the body, it would be around 1.5 m. And then in the body response, JSON slash object. So that's it for this step. Now we need to save this step and we will run a test run and see if it works well or not. And then we proceed with others. I have performed a test run and our flow is successfully ran and we will see the our custom connector will come with this beautiful status 200 code and it is working absolutely fine and you see, it is extracting everything, including the risk score and the draft and the description. It is working pretty fine, and we are able to proceed with the next step. And you see, it just consumes 137 token, and our limit would be the 1000 token. So overall total token it consumes 886. So it is pretty good. So we can now successfully proceed towards the next step. We need to add a parse JSON step there. Rename it to parse audit. Then in the content, we choose this formula. We are basically extracting output from our custom connector audit contract body choice 0 and the message content. So add it. For the schema, we will upload generate from the sample payload. This is a sample payload and we will click done and then it will create beautiful schema for us. Proceed with the next step. Add a new row Dataverse. We need to choose a table once again. Contact governance ledger this and then we show all of our formulas there. So we need to fill all the formulas there and then in a way it will update a record in the table. For compliance status, we will use this formula. AI analysis summary, this one. So we are just calling pass audit or pass session just with the formulas, names, everything else will be pretty fine. Then there is score. Then this hashtag column is pretty unique and it doesn't depend upon the pass audit step, and we are calling it directly from the sanitized contract ticket output, then the vendor name, then SLA target date. All of our columns are filled successfully. Now we can proceed with the next step. I have just performed once again another test run and everything is good. We can proceed with the next step. Search for switch. This one, click switch. Then for switch on, call for the status of pass audit or pass station step that we have added after Azure AI Search and reg inquiry. Click add. Then we add a new use case. Rename our case to, this is the case to hard stop and equals right hard stop, and then we can proceed with. We need to add certain steps there. First, we need to add update a row. We need to choose this update a row Dataverse, and this we need to choose a table name. Once again, our contract governance ledger table. Then we provide it a row ID. In this update a row, we just need to fill the row ID and table name. That's it for this step. And now we proceed towards the next step. We will need to add the Microsoft Teams channel postcard in a chat or channel. This one, click it. Then we need to fill all the formulas of fields. We will post as a flowbot and then post in a channel. Then we have a channel name, demo automation, then channel, general, and then the adaptive card. That's it for this step. This is a full working code, and I will provide the link of it so you can create the full beautiful same adaptive card like that. That's it for this step. All the fields are filled successfully. Now proceed with the next. Send an email V2 this one. Choose the recipient. I will choose myself. In the subject, we will choose this one. And there is one important distinction before put the body there. You need to toggle on the code view. Otherwise, the code, HTML code will won't work and you will see the raw code in your email. First toggle on the code mode and then remove these parameters, and then we need to paste a full code. That's it for this step. All of our fields are filled successfully. So we can first need to save a flow and then we can add a approved case. So a flow is saved successfully. Now we can add a approved case. Rename it once again. Rename it to configure case 1 approved. And in the equals put the right approved. That's it. And now we will add certain steps there. Move file SharePoint. This one. We need to choose a site, demo automations. Then we need to choose a file identifier from the dynamic content. Click dynamic content, and from the trigger, where is it? This one we need to choose a file identifier. This one. That's it for this step. And then we need to choose a site destination once again. And this is our destined folder. Destined folder would be the approved contract. Then if another file is already there with the same name, then what we need to do? Move with the new name. That's it for this step. Now we proceed with the next step. Now we need to send a approved email to a manager. So we need to add another send an email V2 step for the approved case. Send an email V2. Why I'm selecting the V2 instead of V3? Because V2 is pretty straightforward for the beginner's point of view, and it would be easy to set it up and don't have the complexity to add. So that's why our pipeline is already pretty long and tough. So that's why I'm choosing the simplest way to step. We choose the recipient once again, this one, then the subject, then once again toggle on the code mode and then remove these braces, then add this code, and that's it for this step. Now we need to save a flow once again. A complete flow saves successfully. Before I can run it, we need to add a try and catch block there because we are not building a normal pipeline. We are dealing with the enterprise grade AI compliance contract. After adding the try and catch block, we will test our flow and we will test all the use cases at once. So let's proceed with the adding of try and catch block. It is always a good practice to add try and catch block in the production grade flow because we are able to find where a flow fails and what step fail. We add 3 to 4 use cases like if a flow is failed, if it is timed out, if we receive too much request from the API. We'll say with the adding of try and catch block, and then we will test all the use cases one by one accordingly. Add try block or try scope after the ticket description. Search for scope, then add it. Rename it try governance execution. Now in the setting, we need to make sure that after run, just if successful is selected, nothing else, and it will be run fine. That's it for this step. We need to move all of our actions, including our case, into a try block. All of this portion into the try block. So we will do it step by step. First we move the get secret, then we move the pass JSON step, then we move the sanitize contract, then we move the HTTP query reg, and then the row, then our custom connector, then our JSON step once again, then add a new row, and at last our switch, complete switch. And that's it for the try block. Now we need to add cache block. Make sure one thing, we need to add cache block parallel to it, like the parallel branching. We need to add a parallel branch there, otherwise it won't work. So we need to add a parallel branch, otherwise the execution won't work properly and it will won't save the flow and it will throw us the error. Add a parallel branch. So we once again need to search for scope, click it, and now you see the parallel branch is added. Now we need to rename it once again. We rename it cache self-healing diagnostic. Now we need to add certain steps there. First of all, we need to add a compose block there. Search compose, click it, rename it to get failure details, and then put the inputs of it. Then we need to call for the try execution block. Try go and execution block. Basically, we are calling our try block. Save it. Then we need to add a filter array. After that, rename it to filter failed action. Then in the form, put the output of get failure detail. Then add it. Then in the filter query, add this item status formula. Add it is equals to failed. That's it for this step. Now proceed with the next. Now we need to add another compose block there. Click compose. Rename it get failed action summary. In the input, write this long formula. That's it. Proceed with the next step. In the next step, we once again post in a channel or card. There is one important distinction there. Currently, we already have a post in a channel in a hard stop block, but this post in a channel that we are adding in a catch block will run only when a flow failed, when a flow is timed out, or when we receive too much APIs request. In normal cases, it won't run. When the flow fails, it is block run. Otherwise, when the flow is normal, then the normal block is run. We will test it and I will explain it there. So let's proceed with that. In the post, and we post in a channel. Then the channel or teams channel, demo automation. Then the channel is a general channel. Adaptive code, I will upload the code there. And don't worry about the code. I have repeated it multiple times. I will provide every resource. That's it for this step. We have filled all of our values in it. Let's proceed with our next step, in which we add our final send an email V2 step, and then everything will be completed successfully. And then we proceed with the test cases. Send an email V2, this one. Choose the recipient, then the subject. Once again, don't forget to on the toggle mode and move this paragraph, and then paste this beautiful code there. All of our steps failed successfully. Now, before proceeding with the test, we need to configure our cache block settings. We have set run after certain conditions. We need to select an action there. Make sure in the cache block you have to configure tried governance execution, otherwise it won't work. And we need to select that because we have created the parallel branch. If we don't select that, it won't work properly and it will fail its execution fully. And also we need to check all of these options. This one, this one, this one. This is has failed, is skipped, has timed out, and we need to uncheck this because catch block only runs when a flow is either it is timed out, either it is skipped, or either it is failed. That's it for a catch block. So we now need to save a big pipeline, and then we can proceed with the testing of use cases. We first normally test a flow on a hard stop as well as a approved test, and then we test a try and catch block. So let's proceed with the saving of a flow. Click save. Now our flow is saved successfully, and now our flow is saved successfully, and you have seen how big it is, and even it is not filling in the screen, so it is quite big. We first need to proceed with the test case. So let's proceed with the test case. Click test, then manual test, then file upload. We will test it first with the hard stop case. We will upload this policy which is not relying with the policies, and it will hard stop a project. Our flow starts running, our trigger executes successfully. You see our flow is running fine up till now, and you see our flow ran successfully, and our hard stop run successfully. Proceed with the Power Apps. We already have fourth row of data. We need to update it and see a hard stop fifth row is added or not. You see a hard stop row added there, and this one, and it updates the data successfully. Now we need to proceed towards the channel. So you see this is the newest notification in our channel, and you have seen this beautiful card. In the card we receive our ticket ID as well as vendor partner as well as verdict of hard stop SLA breached as well as a risk score. It is 100 by 100 as well as this is the AI analysis reconciliation summary. This is directly from the model, and our RAG AI search that we use. The contract exceeds the maximum approved transaction value of 15,000 USD and specify a liability cap greater than 10,000 USD, triggering a hard stop later. So view in a Dataverse ledger. Now we proceed towards our email. You have seen this is the email in which emergency audit block. This is the ticket ID. This is the attention corporate risk operations, and this is the SLS status hard stop, and this is the critical risk, and this is the policy mismatch and risk finding, and these are the required mitigation steps. It violates these three steps: review the contract for compliance with financial thresholds and budget limitation, access the liability cap, and payment during terms against the established policy, implement a hard code on a contract due to material breaches. So now our hard code is working fine. Our flow ran successfully. Our hard code phase 2 is working fine. Now we need test a proof case, and then after the proof case we will test a try and catch block. Let's proceed to test our proof case this time. Click test, then manual test once again, and then upload the contract that will follow our guidelines. This is tech global policy, which is follow our policies guideline. So we will upload that. Wait a bit, and our flow will run. Our flow starts running, and this time it will hopefully run the approved case. You see our flow ran successfully. We proceed towards the SharePoint and see either a file is moved successfully to a successful folder now. So we need to refresh it, and you see file is already moved, and we need to proceed approved folder, approved contract, and you see our tech of global policy is there. So this step works pretty well. So now we need to proceed once again our V2 email and see. So you see we received this beautiful template, pretty beautiful template email, and we have received compliance approved as well as the ticket as well as the SLS status approved and compliance risk is zero. And this is the policy that is directly from the AI search and from a model, and these are the recommended tips. Both of our use cases, hard stop and approved case, are working fine. Now we need to proceed to test a try and catch block. So since we are not in a production and we need to test a try and catch block, so we need to make a little adjustment in our flow so it will fail, and then we will test it accordingly. In the sanitize contract, we need to change the function key. For example, we will put some random text there, a half key there. So in this way, our flow will fail. We will see the execution of a catch block. If it executes well, then it will execute well. Otherwise, if it's not, then we need to change certain parameters accordingly. We change it partial key. We can choose any key because eventually we want this flow to be failed. This one because this is a wrong key, open API key, and this hard coded key, and I will remove certain part of it to make sure the flow fails. So we need to save a flow, save it. Our flow saves successfully, and now we need to test a try and catch block. We need to test it once again with manual test, click test and manual test. We once again need to upload a file. We need to move a contract intake folder and need to upload a file. Upload any file we want our flow to fail, and hopefully it will fail. Our flow starts running, and you see our try block executes successfully and a flow is failed at the sanitized contract, and we will see if a cache block runs or not. So due to some reason our cache block won't run, you will see a flow run failed and a cache block execution won't be successful. So why is it so? I have find the error. So you see in the run after we have select two options, ticket description and try governance execution. Ticket description will run only when a flow will execute successfully. So we just need to delete this step, and after that it will work fine. Edit it first, and then in the cache flow and the setting, we need to remove this part and save the flow. So you see, even you are experienced developer or even you have years of expertise, you always face the errors. And this is the beauty of the development. It will polish you in a way that you face much and much errors and you got more and more expertise. So that's why I intentionally wanna show you this error, how I remove this. So now we will save this flow and run it once again, and hopefully this time our cache block will work fine and execution will be according to our needs. So save it, save a flow, click save. Our flow saves successfully. Now we can proceed with the test once again. Click test. Manual test. We once again want to test a try catch block, upload a new file there. Any policy file because we want to fail our execution. Our flow start running and hopefully this time it will execute our try and catch block successfully. So you see it execute a try block and fails at the sanitized contract. And you see guys, it is successfully execute a cache block, and we have see a notification in the postcard as well as receive an email. Move towards the Teams channel and then see what we receive. First we click our channel, and this is the notification we have received, and you see this is far more different notification from the hot top. In the hot top, we save this one critical compliance audit block, and this time we received this one system exemption trap. Nexus audit pipeline bypassed and recovered. Trigger Nexus, and this is the ticket ID as well as orchestrator status shall failover active. The execution of try governance execution halted due to runtime error. So it's basically tell us why we receive this. It's basically due to the runtime error. Failed action, sanitize contract error code unauthorized. It executes the try and catch block, not the same block there. This is a current email that we received. Runtime crash captured, incident tickets and attention and everything. Orchestrator state will be failover active and trigger resources will be according to and scope and execution summary. That's it. Now execution of try and catch block and all of our use cases including approved as well as failed case worked. Now overall, our project is completed successfully. We have execute everything. We have execute our pipeline. We have execute our structure. We have test all of our use cases, and we have test the try and catch block. The only part left is the most important part, and it is the application lifecycle management part. We will now proceed towards uploading this whole solution to the production environment because currently I have built this solution in the developer environment, and now we need to proceed towards the one of the main enterprise grade feature that we dealt with every day when we are dealing with production grade environment. So we will upload a complete solution to the production environment and see you there in a bit. Now we can proceed with the ALM lifecycle. So let's proceed to the VS Code. Then in the terminal, make sure you are in the right folder. So currently I'm in my project folder. So you have to track back yourself into your project folder, and then you need to check the Git version installed because sometimes we don't install the Git version. So we will first check the Git version. So currently we have Git installed successfully. Now we initiate with the Git init. It is initialized. So now we need to check the Git status. Currently we don't have any commit, but you see we have Git ignore as well as VS Code function paid and post.json requirement file. So you see, we don't have payload or any sensitive information in a file. This is a git ignore file. You see, currently all of our files are untracked, and this is our git ignore file in which we have explicitly said don't include the test payload, anything that causes the testing accidental deployment. And this is a Python function that we use to create a function app and then deploy the Python v2 function. So let's proceed back towards our environment. Before we can proceed with export of our solution package, we need to understand some of the basic export rules. Otherwise, if we don't follow them, solution break in between, also it will expose a key point. We need to do, we just need to secure on all of our inputs as well as our outputs in our get secret as well as pass JSON or any HTTP request in which we think it may expose our API keys, flow history, any header on a get secret. Then in the setting, then we need to toggle on the secure input as well as secure output. You see this lock sign appear there. Same we did for the past JSON. Secure input on, as well as then we need to secure on a sanitize contract as well. Secure on and secure on. And you see when we toggle on, the secure mode lock appears there. Same for the HTTP query read as well as same for our custom connect, because it may accidentally expose a history as well as the API key. Although we don't have any API keys in the header or in the payload, but just for the sake of security, we are toggle oning the secure mode to add an extra layer of security. Then we can securely export a package and then import into a production environment, demo environment, and then we test it, and then we can proceed accordingly. Then this one added as well. We need to on it, secure inputs on. That's it. So you see, we have successfully secure on all the secure options. We just need to test it in a quick run to check whether everything is working fine, and then we proceed with other steps. I just perform a quick test, and you see everything is up to the mark and everything is running fine. And you see our flow ran successfully and everything is working properly. So you just have to note down the one difference, since secure options are on, so you don't see any content there. Content not shown due to security configuration. Same in the input as well as in the output. Same in the pass station, you don't able to see any inputs and outputs because we have on the security configuration. Same in the HTTP request as well as same in the Azure AI Search reg. We are unable to see any inputs or outputs. Same in custom connect. Let's proceed back towards a solution. Click solution. Click environmental variable. Click edit. Here I want to explain you a very important factor. Currently we only have a default value because I have already removed a current value. So make sure when before deploying a solution, you need to remove all of your current values, including all of your variables. Currently I only created two variables, Azure AI Search as well as Azure Function app. So I already remove all of my current values, because if we don't remove our current value, the point is when we export our solution, it will be pointing towards the last environmental use current value, and it's pointing towards the last environment instead of the environment it is currently exist. And also when we export a solution, it gives us option to the tag of values. Currently we are only dealing with the default value. Of course, when we are dealing with the template selling or template creating options, we don't put our default values there because we are just selling the template. We are not selling the software versions as well. So we will put some dummy data there to execute our export. But in our case, because we need to run the smoke test after the export, so I'm moving with the default value. And also by the time you watch this video, I have already cleaned up all of the resources before even the video upload to my channel. So make sure you have to remove all of the current values, not the default values. Otherwise the flow will not work properly. So let's proceed with the next step. Now move back to home. In the flow, publish all the customization. It will take a bit to publish. Okay, so all of our customizations are published successfully. So we are now ready to export our solution package. So we click export. In the export, we have multiple options. Either we can start a deployment by a proper pipeline of ALM, Power Automate, Power Platform pipelines that provide a this option to quickly deploy a solution. But currently, we are not following that process because for that we need to have in the background a dedicated managed environment, and that currently for the current setup we don't have. But in the some next upcoming video, I will make a complete video on that. So also we have manual export option. So if I click there, so we do export our solution. But currently I'm not using that option to export my solution because I have already prepared a PowerShell script which start a deployment in the deployment folder from the creation of our exported zip to export to our environment and writing down all of my connection references as well as filling the connection references in the environment, and it will automate from the start to the end. Let's start with the partial option. So we need to click a partial terminal. Our terminal is open. So make sure you have in the correct directory. So we need to proceed in the correct directory. Before we can proceed with the PowerShell script, I want to show the complete file in the VS Code. This is the complete deploy script that I have created from the start to the beginning, and now I have opened this file in the VS Code to show you how exactly it works. It includes all of the variables, environmental names, and everything, targeted environment, and how it configures. Don't worry about the script. I will provide this as well with all of the other resources. Let's proceed with the PowerShell. Make sure you are in the right folder. We just need to command it to that we comes into the right folder. So now we are in a deployment folder. In our deployment folder, we need to run the deploy command. We just need to run deploy. And when we enter, it will deploy all of our deployment from the start to the beginning. Like it will create a export. It will first create a exported zip solution from current Mila Sultan environment. And then after creating that, it will create all of the connection references as well as fill all of the connection references, and then at the end it will import the solution in the demo environment, which is the targeted environment. Click enter. It starts initializing workspace diagnostic check, so selecting targeting authorization profile demo environment. So it is now currently connecting to a account. It is now connecting to a demo environment. Now it starts exporting clean managed solution package AI help desk agent enterprise manage it. So this is the file it is currently creating. Now it is start exporting our solution, starting solution export. So you see it is currently exporting a solution. Our solution exported successfully. Now it is scanning a zip and creating the deployment setting template, and now it is connecting to our account. This one. You see it has successfully mapped all of our connection references. Success. Everything is auto mapped successfully. All of our connection references. So currently it is connecting a demo environment, which is our targeted environment, and currently it is importing our solution into the demo environment. So it will take a bit to export our solution in the demo environment. So it may take some time to export it properly. So in this way, you can automate everything. Like you can create a whole script and use it to automate everything accordingly. It's an unexpected error occur. ALM deployment pipeline completed with zero warning. Our overall process is completed successfully, but at the end, our deployment will be not happens accordingly. Since everything is working fine and our loss action of exporting our solution to our targeted environment is failed, so we need to run a deployment command that will override this and deploy solution explicitly. I will run this command that will deploy a package explicitly to override the last command. Once again, it is connected a main account and then a environment, and hopefully it will import this time. I have to clarify one thing, that it would be rather pretty difficult to predict about PowerShell or CID/CD pipelines because we don't know when the error happens. They are very unpredictable. So it is once again not exported, but we want to export that. So let's proceed with another way. That is our manual way. So currently we need to proceed towards our deployment. So this is the deployment in which we see this is our deployed folder and this is our deployment set. This is our deployment JSON file. These are all of the connection references that our solution created successfully. And you see this is a deployed imported zip folder that a solution created. So what we need to do, we need to
proceed towards a demo environment. We need to toggle that into a targeted environment, demo environment. And then what we need to do in our solutions, we will manually export it because import failed at the last step. So we will manually imported. Normally it will work, but currently it is not working. So we will have a trick for that because course we can use this import browser file. Then we choose a dedicated file, AI help desk agent enterprise manage solution, and then we open it and then we click next, and then it is showing the version of it. There is no patch and port. And then you see all of the connection references. It is updating all of the 8 connection references that we had created in a last developer environment, and currently it is updating these in a production environment. So we need to proceed with next. And these are the environmental variables that I had already talked to. These are the default values. Normally, if we want to change those values, we can do, but in current scenario, because we have to use the exact same value, so we can proceed with that because it is not overriding that value, and we have the option to change it there in the imported option, so we can proceed with the next step. And then we see this notification currently importing solution AI help desk agent enterprise. It may take some time to import. So you see a solution is imported successfully. AI help desk agent enterprise imported successfully with warning. So this is the Microsoft default warning with the solution import just for the security point of view. So we have to see a solution is imported successfully. And you see it is also showing that AI help desk agent enterprise imported successfully. And you also see the solution package. It is a managed package. So let's proceed with the flow. And you also see there are important warning there. You cannot directly edit the object with a managed solution. So you have to understand that all of the connection references are imported successfully, but we can't edit any of them. For example, if I click this connection reference, this is these are 9 connection references. If we basically go to their tab and I want to edit it, you see edit as well as the remove portion is grayed down. So we just run it because it is imported as a managed solution. So we don't able to change anything there because all of the connection references imported successfully. They are auto mapped successfully. We can now directly test the flow because our script auto mapped successfully. But we once again cross check them before we turn on our flow. Go to our environment, click back, and then in our connection references, we see these are some of the connections that we just created. And in the custom connectors, we see this is a custom connector there that is recently imported with the solution because we had created a custom connector in a past environment. If we see in the connections, we don't have any connection for the custom connector. So we need to create a new connection there. Click new and search there Azure Function. So you see this is a connector. We need to write the API key there. We need to copy the API key from our deployed model. Then we need to paste it there. The connection references is created successfully. But here is a very important trick. Even though the connection references is created successfully and the UI say all of the connection references created successfully, but we are unable to use our flow or turn on our flow. So what's the logic behind it? Because you see currently our flow is off. So when we turn it on, then we can run it, perform a test on that. It will throw us an error. If I try to run it on, why it throw us an error? You see, connection ID missing for connection reference is logical. What is this arrow? It is basically pointing towards the last endpoint that we have created. Currently, even though the new connectors are new connection references are created. So this is the one of the biggest blogger when we dealing with the solution export. So for example, when we export any solution from developer to production environment, all of the connection references we need to map into the deployment settings or JSON file. Even though the solution is imported into the next environment and you can create those connection references manually, but the solution itself is pointing towards the last created endpoint. So we need to resolve it. So in the production environment, what we do, Microsoft allow us to separately create everything manually, and we have created the references accordingly, and then we use those references in our environment. So what currently we do to resolve this issue? So we just need to update our Azure connection references manually. This reference is pointing back, so we just need to change this QUCD ID, and then it will work fine. How we do that? Of course, we will use a
PowerShell command line. Proceed with that. As we all know, we just have created a new connection references for Azure Function app. So we need to extract that usage ID from there. We need to run that command, get admin power apps connection. So this is a targeted environment, unique code, or in other words, you have to say usage ID. This is the connector name, and in this way we can get the value. So we need to click enter. In a bit, it will provide us a value. Course, as we see Azure Function connector, this is a recently created connector, and this is the connected status. So we need to extract that value, copy it, paste it in a connector, then save it. It won't work magically there, so we once again need to deploy it by using a PowerShell command, and then we are able to use a flow according. So we need to overwrite our last command once again. We provide the exact targeted environment ID as well as managed AI help desk agent enterprise setting file, as well as we need to provide the deployment settings as .json active plugins force override, and then it will override with the new connector, and then we can able to once again import the solution, and then hopefully our solution will work fine. So we need to click enter. So it is now once again connecting to our account, and it is importing our solution, and hopefully this time it will be imported successfully. And once it imported our solution, we can use it or turn on it, and of course we will smoke test, and then we will test it accordingly. See, we have a lot of difficulties, a lot of errors during the deployment process, and this is quite normal. Even though we face a lot more errors when we are dealing with the production grade, even though you are an experienced person, these errors are just the normality, as I already told you, even though they are quite difficult to replicate on camera. So I will try my best to proceed with zero errors. But of course, these are the part of learning. So everybody learns with that. So hopefully this time solution will be imported successfully, and we are able to use a solution accordingly. It will take a bit to import, of course. You see now solution imported successfully, and all of our connection references resolved. So proceed back towards our production environment, which is our demo environment, and we need to turn on our flow and try to run it and see either the error is gone or we still persist with that error. This is our last error, so we need to refresh our UI interface a bit. Now our UI is refreshed. We need to turn it on. So you see, it the solution is turn it on successfully. It doesn't throw us any error. So it means it's resolved. Right? So we need to edit it. You can see this disclaimer. This flow cannot be updated because the managed property of this solution component don't allow customization. So we are unable to change anything there. We just able to run it, and you see how beautifully everything is come with the secure input as well as the secure output, as we have deployed it in a developer environment, and it is exported pretty well in a production environment as well. So everything is pretty clean and exported in a way that we want. So we just need to run it. We just need to test it manually and then click test and see. This is a smoke testing. If everything is worked, we are good to proceed. Our file is successfully uploaded, and hopefully our flow will work successfully, and our pipeline will work accordingly as intended, as we are expecting it to work. So you see our flow ran successfully, and we have received everything perfectly fine, and our smoke test is successful and appears to run successfully, and we have received this beautiful update a row as well as post in our channel, and send us an email. So we need to check our channel. So you see, this is the recent new notification that I have received. This is a new one, and this is hot topic, and this is everything as we already tested multiple times. And this is our email that we recently received. Of course, it is hot talk, and I will not go to any of the detail there because I already told you pretty much there how the values are compiling and where it's coming from. Also, our Power Apps records updated successfully. So that's it with one of the biggest project, multi-tenant AI document contract system. So it is one of the biggest and longest and difficult projects that we did. So we have completed it with complete success, and everything is completed perfectly. If you have any questions, have any ambiguities, you can ask me in the comment section. You can directly email me as well. And if you want the automations like that, also you have to let me know. For your information, I will provide each and every resource, including the V2 Python function as well as the PowerShell script, as well as all of the HTML code and this flow pipeline pipeline formulas in the description with the Google Drive link, the zip folder, so you can get everything at one place. Thanks for watching. We will meet in the next video.